So this week's review car, and it's rather beautiful, it's very, very pretty, is a Genesis GV60. And I know a few of you out there have suddenly gone, Genesis? Where's that from? Well, Genesis is the luxury arm, the luxury division of Hyundai and Kia Motors. Hyundai and Kia are together, and Genesis is that luxury arm, a bit like Toyota and Lexus. You know all about that, or AMG and Mercedes. There you go. So if you've heard of all of them, you know that that's their luxury division, but they're all part of the same company. Genesis launched here back in 2021, so it's only been around a few years, but it has become superbly popular. And the reason for this is because you can get a luxury product like this without having to spend out on luxury pricing, because they're all very, very price point conscious, every single one of the Genesis brand. Now this one in particular is rather special. This is the GV60. So the GV stands for the SUV section of Genesis, and the GVs come as GV60, GV70 and a GV80. It's just dependent on the size, bit like Audi Q5, Q3, Q8, you know, where it differentiates in the size. Whereas the QV60 is again rather special in itself, because this is an all-electric SUV. And it is the first one that Genesis have done. And let me tell you, it's proved so popular, it's actually won awards. We'll talk about that later in this video. So what we need to do is get around this car, have a look at it, see what we think of it, see what it's like in the back for the passengers, is there enough room in the boot, give it a road test, and at the end of the day, give you our evaluation of the Genesis GV60. I'm AJ, and you're watching The Player YouTube. And if you have not watched us before, watch this. I think you're going to enjoy it. This is how a car should sound. Listen to this.
I didn't really push it either. I was just having a bit of fun.
Oh really?
So there you have it, guys. The Ferrari Roma, my birthday present. Here we go. We're going to meet the crew and hopefully get the same. That's a real one.
I think it makes a good word.
We're going with mate. Nice to see you.
Show us your big chopper, your helicopter.
So here we are, the Morgan Roadster, where we're here for the Swiss Watch Show. And guys, guess what? It's another morning here out in sunny France.
So, GV60s come in 3 different trim levels. Entry-level car is called the Premium, and it's going to set you back from 53,000 UK pounds, which I don't think is too bad for a luxury SUV like this. It comes with 19-inch alloys, which I think look pretty good. It also comes with a couple of choices of leatherette interior, so you've got a couple of choices in the colour of that as well. If you want to upgrade to the Napa leather, you will get 4 choices, but it's going to cost you an extra 2,340 UK pounds for the privilege. At the end of the day, the choice is yours. The next up is the Sport. Now the Sport will set you back from 58,000 UK pounds. And that will dictate that you do get a slight change in the motor and the range and other bits and pieces. But we're going to talk about that when we get under the bonnet in the next section. Next up is the Sport Plus. That's your top of the range, or kitchen sink level as I like to call it. The Sport Plus will cost you from 67,000 UK pounds. It's quite a lot of money, so it's well worth having a look at those different trim levels and seeing what you actually get for the money, and also evaluating what you need out of this car on a day-to-day basis. Bear that in mind. Now, do bear in mind the fact you get 14 different choices in colour. If you like solid white, that comes as part of the price for any of those trim levels. However, if you want any of the metallics, it's an extra 740 UK pounds. I particularly love this Hanauma Mint, as they call it. It's attracted a lot of people over to talk about this car and have a look at it. So it is, I don't know, I just think it really looks nice. If you want the metallic, the pearl ones, those matte metallics, You are going to be paying an extra 1,100 UK pounds for the privilege, but at the end of the day, it's how unique you make your individual GV60. That's all I can say. Let's check out under the bonnet for the different motor configurations that you can get with the Genesis GV60. Now, the bonnet release catch is down here. It's a single pull. It's in the driver's footwell. You can't forget that. It's easy. However, if you're driving a left-hand drive version, it's going to be in the passenger footwell because they're not going to swap it around. It costs too much money, so just bear that in mind. The actual release catch is right dead centre. See where the Genesis badge here? I love the Genesis badge. It's beautiful. Right here, you'll find a little latch and just put your fingers and squeeze like that and it'll release. Now, you've got a couple of really nice gas struts either side. Don't forget, this is a premium product. It's the luxury end of the market, so you're going to get all these nice bits and pieces. Now, the one thing you weren't expecting was an engine. Of course you weren't. But there's different configurations and setups, which we're going to talk about in just a second. First up, have you noticed something? This is called a frunk in electric car speak. Now, a frunk is a forward trunk. There you go. And you can put, well, it's absolutely massive there. You could probably put all your electrical cables in there if you needed to. However, it's also a really handy place to put an overnight bag or anything you just want to put out of the way. So they're called frunks. I do like that, it's quite neat. Okay, let's talk about the different configurations that you can buy with this car, the different motor configurations. All GV60s come with a 77.4 kilowatt battery. That's right across the range. We'll talk about charging and range and stuff like that when we get into the charging section, which is a couple past what we're doing now. Premium level car will come with a 168 kilowatt motor. Now that motor, that's the equivalent of 229 brake horsepower. It's a rear wheel drive car on the entry level car. It's not available as an all wheel drive car. So you only get one motor and rear wheel drive. However, that will give you 0 to 60 times of around 7 seconds with a top speed of 115 miles an hour. Jumping up to the sport trim level, you'll get a 230 kilowatt motor, which is the equivalent of around 318 brake horsepower. But one thing you do get with that is all-wheel drive. Makes a huge difference. 0 to 60 times are around 5 seconds with a top speed limited to 124 miles an hour. And finally, if you want to go for the top of the range, that's the kitchen sink level, as I like to call it, Sport Plus, you're going to be buying yourself a rather special car. Comes with a 360 kilowatt dual motor, which gives it all-wheel drive. That in turn equates to 490 brake horsepower in combustion engine levels, which is absolutely mad in a car like this. It will give you 0 to 60 times of, wait for it, under 4 seconds. Yes, under 4 seconds. We're into supercardom here for this car. Simply crazy. And with 700 newton meters of torque, your top speed is going to be somewhere around 150 miles an hour plus. It's one hell of a car, this car. So I think you've got to admit, even from the back here, it's just such a pretty car. It is beautifully designed. I love the way these LEDs sweep round here. They're split by the boot here. You've got this big sort of chunky boot on the back. I love the aero that's going on here as well. The depth of this screen at the back makes reversing this car and looking out through the back screen, it's absolutely amazing. I like the privacy glass. I love the way that the pinstripe LED that runs through here it lights up when you hit the brakes. It's beautiful. Really loving all the design on this car. I think it's just one of those type of cars that when it drives past you, you have to give it a second look. It's like, ooh, what was that? And I think the back of this car just sets it off really, really nicely. Now it's got an assisted boot lift on this, electronically assisted. Let's whip it open there like that. Look at that, very quick as well. It's got a really sort of nice height to it as well. So if you are loading stuff in and out, it's going to keep everything under here nice and dry, and at the same time, you're not going to be hitting your noggin, as we say. You've got the inevitable parcel shelf in here. It is the roller blind version, which makes life a little bit easier when removing it. So you can almost do it with one arm, as you can see, and just pop it out like that. Unfortunately, you can't get this underneath there. So if you are out and you've got to, pick up a couple of kids with bikes and put them in the back here, or you've got to get the dogs in and you don't want, or any reason why you don't want a parcel shelf, the actual back bit in there. It's just you're going to end up leaving it at home at the end of the day. So I think it's just a shame. It's just a bit of a waste of money. I'm going to put it back in there just out the way for the moment because I don't want to put it on the floor. Very easy to pop in and out, as you can see. 3 different levels there as well where you can put it. A really decent sized boot on this. You're going to get, you know, a number of large suitcases in it. It's proper size. I love the load height as well. It's a really nice height. It's only just above my knee. It's going to make lifting heavy objects up and putting them in very easy. You've got a nice aluminium scuff plate on here. You know, it's not going to scratch as easy as if it was plastic. And at the same time, the whole thing is dead level across there. It's really nice. You've got a 12-volt adapter in there for pumping up the inflatables. If you're out and you bought yourself a kayak or something, you plug the pump in there. It's all perfect. Underneath here, you do get 2 charging cables. You've got the home charger, which is like a little trickle charge. So basically, you plug that in your mains, and that would sort of give it 2 or 3 kilowatts, and that it doesn't give a lot. So you can't rely on that. It would take like 3 days to charge this car up from 10 to 80%, which is ridiculous. You do get a spare charging cable in there for when you're out on the road. You get a tyre repair, puncture repair kit. It's that stupid latex stuff that comes in a tube and you get a pump. Don't use it, throw it away, just don't even go near it. It will ruin your tyre. It never works, it really doesn't. Honestly, I've done it, I've been out on the road, I've tested all these, they don't work. Get yourself a set of run flats for this car. But all in all, the actual inside and the back of the car, it's just, I think it's just really nice, and it's got that real premium feel to it. You can feel the carpet and the actual finish, everything. Really nice indeed. Okay, first up, before I jump in the back and show you what it's like for the passengers, just want to mention, just look at the finish on this car. How nicely finished is it? You've got this sort of leather piece coming across the top here. You've got a really lovely soft material that's running around here. Some nice little aluminium accents everywhere. Just a real attention to detail. Little cup holder here, you've got another pocket down here for bits and pieces. Love the size of this window. Obviously it's got the privacy glass that I mentioned when we were around the back as well. It's just all in all really nice. What's it like to get in and out of? Well, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, look at the size in the back here. It is huge. Look at the width of this car. You've got a vent down here as well. It's got a separate sort of vented area here, which is nice. So it's not in the middle. It actually, in the middle, you've got 2 USB-Cs there so that you can charge off. So if you've got a couple of young kids in the back here and they need to charge up their bits and pieces, there's going to be no arguments going on there. The only thing is, I've found there's a bit of a annoying mummy or daddy button, because over here you can actually move the seat backwards and forwards by pushing the buttons that are on the side here, and that's obviously hours of tormenting by the kids if they so choose. So I'd probably ask Genesis if I could lose that if I had a couple of young children, because that's going to be a real pain. You've got like a really nice panel here. No granny stockings in the back here. Well, there is one down here. There's a cupboard in, a little cubby in there. You can store bits and pieces. But generally, just look at the quality, look at the feel. This is the leatherette, so it's not actually leather. And I just think it's so nice. I really like it. In the centre here, you've got a double cup holder and a nice sort of armrest that you can put your arm on. Again, really nicely done. No ski hatch. I'm a bit surprised at that. I thought there would have been a ski hatch in this car, but never mind. You've got recessed seat belts, and another thing which I really love, look at the ISOFIX points in this car. You don't have all those horrible bits of plastic. You know, the bits of plastic that you get, they're on hinges, or you pull them out, you end up losing them or breaking them. With this, it's just clearly marked on the seat exactly where the ISOFIX point is, which, you know, that's how it should be. It's just really nicely, neatly done. Plenty of legroom. Let's see what it's like in the middle for your 5th passenger. I mean, that is phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. It's a little bit tight on your back, and it's not designed for your 5th passenger to go hours and hours of driving in this car. But if you need to pick someone up and give them a lift home, or there's 5 of you, just going out for a couple of drinks or wherever you're going, it's just going to be perfect for taking that 5th passenger. Another thing you'll notice as well, on the back of the seat, you can see they have been scalloped this way to allow for your knees in that position, giving that extra little bit of knee room. Not a lot underneath the seat for your feet, but at the same time, I think it's a really nice sort of sitting position. It's quite comfortable, supporting your back as well. You've got the headrest there, got a couple of courtesy lights up here. Lovely finish on the roof, really soft, just all round quality. Very nice indeed, Genesis. Loving this car. Genesis GV60 comes with keyless entry and keyless ignition, as you would expect, but there are a couple of other ways of getting in this car. One is quite techy, but I like it. It's appeared on other cars as well. It's fingerprint recognition, so you can use your fingerprint to actually open the door. But one of the most novel things about this car, and very, very latest up-to-date technologies, is face recognition. This car will actually recognise your face, so you don't need a key, and will open the doors and allow you to drive it. How incredible is that? First up, before I jump in, both seats at the front are electronically adjustable. The driver's seat gets a lumbar massage function as well. So after about an hour of driving, the seat kicks in and gives you a lovely massage just to make sure you don't get a stiff back. Really, really nice that. I love all the detailing on the door. It's ever so nice, and it's just finishes off the premium feel of this car. Let's jump in and explain a few of the bits and pieces that you've got in here. First up, you're going to see, just look at the space up front. It's incredible. This whole car is very, very spacious, very light, very airy. I really like that. Down on the bottom right hand side here, you have your lighting ambient button, the luminosity button. I think that's the best way of calling it. And next to it, you've got your traction control button. So if you do want to go and have a bit of fun, there is on the Sport Plus version of this car, you can actually have drift mode. Why would you want that? I have no idea. But they do drift mode. And for that, I think you'd have to turn the traction control off over there. You've also got the auto hold button as well for the, well, it's not an auto hold, it's a hold button. If you hold it down, it will open the boot at the back, so you don't need to get out. So if you're shopping, for example, and the other half is in the supermarket getting all the food, and you're watching your iPhone, maybe you're watching me, I don't know, on YouTube, or you could be watching the football or whatever you're watching. It's pouring with rain or snowing or whatever, you don't have to get out the car, do you? So you just push that when you see him or her coming out and hold it down and the boot will go up. Perfect. Let them load the shopping up. You stay nice and dry and warm. That's the way we like it. Layout of this car, very, very similar to any standard car. Just because it's electric doesn't mean to say that the layout's going to be any different in here. But one thing you will notice, and I'm going to demonstrate in a minute, is the gypsy crystal ball, which is in the middle here. At night, this lights up. Is really nice, actually. I do like it. It's a little bit gimmicky, but you'll see in a minute when we start her up. We're going to start with the right-hand side of the steering wheel because I think it's just easy just to work from right to left. So on your right-hand side here, you do have your media functions. One thing I do like, again, there's a little sort of, it's like a mousy pad thing. You don't actually, you just slide your finger over it and it can change either the tracks or the radio stations that you're listening to. It's really nice and quick. You just flick your, you know, as you're driving along, you just slide across like that. There you go. So it's moving across there, radio 2, radio 3, and all I'm doing is just sliding my thumb. There's no actual button there. Volume button next to it, that is a physical button. You go up and down. Telephone you've got on there as well. You've got a star assign button, and then naturally you've got your Ask Genesis button. You know what you ask Genesis, I need a cup of tea. Where's the nearest burger bar or whatever you want? If you push that and say that, or you want to go in a certain postcode or something, you can actually do that. It's really nice. Most cars have got that nowadays anyway. Left hand side are your driver functions, your cruise control, your lane keeper, your lane distance control. It's all set up on here, very easy to use. All of these GV60s will come with a head-up display, which is, again, really lovely, especially at night. I love driving. When you're driving, you don't have to look down. You just look straight ahead. You've got a speed sign recognition on here as well to tell you. So if you're in a strange area and you don't know the speed limit, it will tell you exactly what's going on. Another good thing is once you set the cruise control on this and the lane keeper, it will actually hold you. You could, when it becomes legal, just literally let this car drive itself. Now you will notice there's some paddles on here. Now these are your regen paddles. Now regen is basically how much force is coming back through the car itself from braking and freewheeling. You can set that as 5 different levels. I've actually got it set in the auto level, so it does it all itself. But you can then, you know, you can jump it up to virtually this car will brake itself. So when you take your foot off the accelerator, it will actually slow down because it's got so much regen in there. It won't physically charge the battery. I mean, if that was the case, it'd be wonderful. You'd never have to plug this car in. It'd be absolutely brilliant. But we're not quite at that stage yet. I think it's going to be a few years to come. But you will get a few miles extra that you wouldn't normally be getting because you can set that regen as high as you like. If you don't like regen, in other words, you don't like taking your foot off and the car almost stopping, you can actually set that to off and it will just coast along just like any other normal car. So the choice is yours at the end of the day when it comes to that. But it's on there. So if you were just wondering why it had paddles, because obviously being an electric car doesn't have a gearbox. Of course it doesn't. You've got 3 different modes on here. I think we'll talk about the modes when we get the car out on the road, but the mode button is down there and you can just flick between the modes. It comes up on your lovely digital cluster here as you're driving along, but like I say, we'll do that when we get it out on the road. I'm going to put the key out the way for a minute just to demonstrate. So you've got an electronic steering column adjustment. It's a really nice, you know, very nice and easy to use. Set it up in the perfect position where you want to be. This to start the car. Well, I say start, you won't hear a thing, but you put your foot on the brake pedal and you just push the start button. Everything comes into life. Beautiful digital cluster. Look at that. It's absolutely stunning. Now you can set this up in a number of different ways. It's got different views on it as well, and you can, you know, pretty much program this how you want this whole car. You've got the lovely screen across here, and you've got a big, it's almost BMW-esque style big knob here, big white one in this case. You just slide across like that, and then you can select whatever you want. Let's select, for example, the radio. We'll go into radio, just click, push on it, and it'll come straight up there. And then again, you can, you know, manipulate whatever you want. You can set up your favorite channels down the bottom there. But again, you can just do that like that on that little button over there. I really love that. It's really neat. I like it. So then you've got your radio functions on here. If we go into, there's a home button here. There's a menu button as well. Each one of these has a menu. You've got a fine tuner on there. You can tune, go in between. You've got an on-off button there as well. Loads of lovely little buttons. Over the front there, you can probably see there's a 12-volt adapter there. And then there's a couple of mini USBs, USB-Cs. You get a 2-zone climate control system on here. Now, the one thing I will say on this car, some of these do have heat pumps. Now, heat pumps means they're saving the battery power and allowing you to use certain things within the car without, you know, chewing back your battery power, your range, so to speak. This particular car we've got doesn't have a heat pump fitted to it. That's just because it's this particular car. Comes as part of a pack, so you do need to bear that in mind. So the one way of saving battery power, I'm going to give you a big tip here. In any electric car, switch all your aircon off, you don't need it, and then use your heated seats, because this car comes with heated and cooled seats. Absolutely lovely. I mean, look at these seats. Everything is beautiful, the way it's all built. But I just wanted to mention that. His and hers, hers and his, whatever way you want to do it. Straight across, easy to use. 3 different levels over there as well. You've then got your parking button here for your beepers and your camera settings. You've got your camera setting there. There's your auto hold button. Now, your auto hold button, you need to be careful of that. If you take this car through a car wash, I'm going to give you a big tip now because I've actually done it. You need to turn the auto hold button off. Now, otherwise, it won't get dragged through the car wash, and then it completely stops the car wash, and everybody within the car wash all has to sit and wait while a little man climbs through and resets it and shouts through your window, turn your auto hold button off. Yeah, well, there you go. But I've learned my lesson now, and I thought I'd pass that very important information straight over to you so you're well aware of it. What you probably didn't notice, I'm going to do it again. I'm going to turn it off because I want, look at the way the gypsy ball of truth suddenly turns when you put the power on. Ready? There she goes again. Look at that. So this is your drive selector. It's really nice. It's got a nice knurled edge to it. Even when you've got your park setting there in the middle. So as soon as you've pulled up, just push park. And it's as simple as that. The handbrake will come on and it will set the car up. You've got a neutral setting, you've got a drive setting and a reverse setting. It's simple as that with electric cars. No gears, nothing. Just forward, backwards, or if you do need to go in the car wash, put it in neutral and take the auto hold off. I won't keep mentioning that, but something I do want to show you, absolutely fabulous. Cameraman's going to follow me with this one. This car doesn't have a glove box. Oh no, this car has a glove drawer. Look at that. How nice is that? It is stunning. There's no big logbook in there. There's no big owner's manual because it's all on here. You don't need anything. You see, Genesis have thought about this. They've realised and listened to people going, we don't need those books anymore. They cost too much money. So all the money has been spent on lovely little niceties within this car. But I do absolutely love the fact you've got a drawer rather than one of those horrible things that you pull down and put your tissues in. That's a proper drawer. You've got a cubby in the middle here. Again, nice size. Look at it. You can get a couple of phones in here easily. It's got a wireless charging pad here as well. So you just pop your phone in, it will wirelessly charge it. And you've got Bluetooth, you've got the Android mirroring, you've got the wireless. Well, in actual fact, you haven't got wireless Apple Play in this car. That was one thing that has let this car down. I was quite shocked at that. You do need to plug your Apple device in order to get the Apple Play. Bit disappointing that, considering how technologically advanced this car is. But looking around the car, You could not want more from it. It's comfortable, you can get the perfect seating position, you've got all your buttons and everything, you know, literally at a hand touch away, and yeah, simply stunning. But let's get it out on the road, because the proof is in the pudding. This car, we need to feel what it's like to drive. At the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's not just about individual things. Let's go do it. So the first thing you are going to notice about the Genesis GV60 when you get out on the road is how quiet it is. Now, I've driven a lot of electric cars, and you're probably saying, where's an electric car, AJ? Yeah, it is an electric car, but I've driven a lot, and you tend to hear the air flow through the car. And you also tend to pick up a lot of the road noise because of the nature of the car. There's no transmission, for example. There is no engine noise. There's no exhaust noise. There's, you know, none of that exists in this car. So you do tend to hear it a little bit more. And in certain cars, you know, it's become quite annoying. But I can honestly say, having driven this car for 2 weeks now and done well over 2,000 miles in it, which has been incredible, it really is silent. Absolutely superb. And I wasn't expecting that. Big 19-inch rims on this car as well. Big tyres as well. You'd expect a bit of feedback, but beautiful. Comfort-wise, superbly comfortable. This seat couldn't be, you know, you can adjust it. You see, it's an electronic seat. Lovely, you know, you can adjust your steering. Even as you're going along, you can just move it up and down wherever you want it. And another lovely, useful function in this, after about an hour, you will get that nice massage. It goes up your back, and unfortunately, it's only for the driver. I'm sure you can pay extra and have a massage seat put in for the passenger as well. But for the driver, absolutely stunning. Love the blind spot mirrors. They're built in, so you've got them, not only you've got them on the actual mirrors themselves, but the blind spot mirror, when you come up, is a blind spot camera. So when you indicate left like that, you can see down the side of the car without having to look over like that. Or if you indicate right, it works the other side. So basically your speedo changes into a visible camera, and then your tachymeter or rev meter also changes into visible camera on your blind spot mirrors. Love the safety aids on this car, simply brilliant. You get cruise control, distance control, lane keeping, sign recognition, autonomous braking in town. You've got impending collision alert system built into this. You've got the front and rear beepers. You've got the cameras. I mean, this car is pretty safe, especially when you're out on the road. It's got all those lovely driver aids, everything over here, as I mentioned earlier. Also, I think with the heads up, it's so nice. You can see the speed. You've got the speed limit up there shown on the sign recognition, which is nice. And again, this lovely big windscreen, peripheral vision all the way round, superb again. Right, let's talk a little bit about the most important part of this car, which is the range. Premium level car. Genesis say around 320 miles on a full tank of juice. I say around about 280 to 290 real world. If you jump up to the Sport or the Sport Plus, you're going to lose a little bit on your range, but you obviously gain on the power. You're going to drop down to around about 280, 290 Genesis say. I say around about 250 to 260 miles on a full tank. We are currently getting 4.2 miles to the kilowatt. Now that equates to around, each mile to the kilowatt is around 40 miles in combustion engine terms. So you're looking around 160 to the gallon. And this car really does do 160 to the gallon. So at the same time, you're thinking, well, you know, electricity is expensive now, it's costing more to put in, but you're getting a lot more on your mileage than you would do in a combustion engine. And at the end of the day, don't forget being kind to the polar bears. And that's what, you know, a good percentage of people who buy these cars are thinking of the eco-friendliness of the car. But you need something that's not going to give you range anxiety. I can tell you now, if you buy a GV60, this does what it says on the tin. So if it currently saying I've got 168 miles of range, you will get 168 miles of range. However, if you put the aircon on, it will drop. If you put it into sport mode or comfort mode, it's going to drop a tad, a little bit. That, you know, it's just part and parcel of driving. I leave my aircon off, I don't need it. Or invest in a heat pump, that's another way. That's a different story, we're not going to go into that today, but it's something to bear in mind. Have a chat with your Genesis salesperson about heat pumps and the various different models that you can get. You know, there's 3 different trim levels in this car. So, you know, just bear all that in mind when you go for your test drive. Let's talk modes, guys. So currently in economy mode, obviously giving us the best bang for our buck when it comes to range in this car. You then push the button once like that, and it will switch into the normal mode. You get a nice animation, changes colour. Normal mode gives it a little bit more acceleration. No, comfort mode, sorry, not normal mode, call it comfort mode. It is normal mode, it's the one in between. Once you get into that, it softens the dampers up a little bit, but you do get a bit more out of the back, out of your acceleration. Drop a tiny little bit, about 5 miles you're going to lose going into the comfort mode. And then finally, this is where it starts to get a bit of fun. Put it into sport mode. Now the first thing you notice, the seat suddenly clamps around you, it tightens up. Now you've got the full battery power, so you put whoa, so you put your foot, and this is only the premium level with the single motor. I mean, look at the acceleration on this thing. You just got to literally hang on to it. I have no idea what it would be like on Sport Plus, with those twin motors with, leave 500 brake horsepower under your foot. It's simply crazy. But again, that has now dropped by significantly on your range. You're now down to, you've lost about 30 miles by going into sport mode. So what I've found is when you need sport mode, if you need to do an overtake or you need to accelerate quickly, then it's perfect. But most of the time, I'm going to put it back into eco mode. And now we've just gained another 40 miles, 35, 40 miles. There you go, on our range. All in though, guys, you could do far worse than not have a test drive in one. You've got to go and give one a test drive. I think having the fact that, it's easy to charge, you're getting value for money out of all the bits and pieces you get on the car. It's versatile, it's a great family car. Look at the comfort, look at the quality. From 53,000 UK pounds, I think it's a bit of a no-brainer, to be honest with you. Lovely car to drive. Get down and give one a test drive is my advice. So one of the best things about your Genesis GV60 is the quickness of it. And when I mean quickness, how quick it charges up, because this can actually charge in as little as 18 minutes, 10 to 80% in 18 minutes. In real world terms, that's around 200 miles of range. 18 minutes just gives you a chance to get in there, get yourself a coffee, get back out again. But, there's a big but, as you can see today, we're working on this particular charger here. That's only running at 29 kilowatts per hour, which is very, very slow. So it's taken the best part of 50 minutes to get around 60% of charge in here. So it's all going to vary as to where you are, whether the actual charger is working, because we had to use 2 different chargers to actually get one that was working. So it just goes to show, it's not quite there with the infrastructure. However, the car is definitely there, 100%. So putting it on a charge, you just pull in, you reverse it back here, stick it in over there, tap your card, and away you go. You don't even need to open an account with one of the service providers. However, here in the UK, you're going to be paying, wait for it, nearly 80 pence per kilowatt. So if you do the math on it, that can cost you up to about £45 to fill one of these up. So it's not as cheap as it sounds. So there you have it, guys. The Genesis GV60. What a car. I have thoroughly enjoyed driving this car over the last couple of weeks. It's been an enlightening experience when it comes to electric cars. I wasn't always in favour of electric cars, but having spent a couple of weeks with this one, it might have changed my mind. Another thing that might change my mind as well is the warranty that you get with this car. It's simply incredible. You've got 5 years or 50,000 miles, whichever comes first, of what they call a service care plan. Now what that means is it basically covers everything. So you don't have to worry about a thing. You just have it collected by your Genesis concierge that you will be allocated, and they will leave you with a spare car that you can use while your one is being serviced and looked after over that 5 years period. How fantastic is that? Residual values on these cars, incredible. 50 to 54% of its original value still retained after 3 years. Sounds a bit of a no-brainer to me. Get down and give one a test drive. Just pop down to your local Genesis showroom and someone will be there to take you through all the pros and cons of what you want to buy and how you know exactly which different trim level that you're going to go for. Whether it's the premium, the sport or the sport plus, at the end of the day, choice is yours. It depends what you're going to be using one of these cars for. My money is on the premium, I think at 53,000 UK pounds. It's a bargain, it's value for money. But you won't know that until you actually get out in it and give it a test drive and realise just how good the Genesis GV60 is. You've been watching me, AJ, on the Player YouTube channel. Don't forget, like, subscribe and comment. Now, If you want to subscribe, don't forget, we don't just do car reviews. You saw that at the beginning of this review. We do a lot of other things, so make sure you leave the bell sign unchecked so you get regular updates on all the videos that we're posting. Comments down there, straight below me in the box. Anything you want to know, anything you want to ask, if you want to add something about this car, maybe you've bought one, maybe you've had a good experience or even a bad experience with it, leave a comment in the box down below for other people on. And if you want one of us to get back to you, one of the team will reply to you. It's not a problem. Now, as I say, we are the Player YouTube channel, but we're not just the YouTube channel. Oh no. So I'm going to ask you something here that just, will take you 2 seconds. Could you just give us a little thumbs up? I'd really appreciate it. We don't get a bonus, don't get, any extra pay, but what we do get is a pat on the back from the boss for job well done. Basically, if you like what we're doing, that means they like, the bosses like what we're doing for you. So if all that makes sense. So if you give us a thumbs up, really appreciate it. The Player is, in return for that, I'm going to give you something back. I'm going to give you the Player bookazine. Oh yes, it's completely complimentary to you guys for watching me on the Player YouTube channel. The bookazine is a men's book. It's a publication. It's actually a proper publication. It's a big book that comes out every 3 months. Now, unfortunately, I can't give you the actual book, but I can give you the equivalent online version. It's exactly the same as the book, but you don't need to carry it about with you. You don't have to pay that 100 UK pounds for that individual book. You've got a completely free downloadable version of that book, and it's got everything in there that us guys love. It's called The Player. It's got 220 pages of cars, boats, motorcycles, jet skis, golf. There's food in there, there's interviews, there's just absolutely everything in there that we love. And you can view the online version. You can either download it, you can scroll, you can move the pages with your mouse or your finger, depending on what you're on. You can zoom in, zoom out, read it, look at the picture. It's just incredible, really well set up. That's yours for free, and all you've got to do is head over to www.co.uk. It's coming up here now. There you go, it's popped in down the bottom there. Head over there, I'll leave it up for a few seconds just to remind you. Head over there, all you've got to put in is your name and your email. Job done, end of story. And it's end of story for me for this week. I'll catch you next week with something hopefully equally as good as the Genesis GV60.